Hey guys, Maurice here with probably the best, or my favorite part of Chronicles of Elyria. And that's the world itself. And I'm not about to boast about a night and day system with zones and different climates. I'm talking about a truly dynamic world that's always and forever changing around you. Not only will your character experience night and day, but also seasons in every area of the map. You don't have to travel to the mountains to see snow, just wait till winter. But I realize I'm getting ahead of myself. And to truly understand how the world is always changing and dynamic in Chronicles of Elyria, you need to have a solid understanding how death works in this game. So if you haven't seen our first video talking about death, well then you should probably go do that before continuing. But I think a good place to start here, to show you how Chronicle of Elyria's world is always evolving, is that Chronicles of Elyria will live out a 10-year story. In episode 1 we talked that the only way to carry on is through your soul. Characters you create will eventually die, but your soul will carry on. We don't know much when it comes to the 10-year story. However, we do know that for the 10 years, the story director for Soulbound Studios, depending specifically what the players are doing in that world, will create a storyline over a time period of 10 years. Now after that 10 years, we have reason to believe that the world will reset itself. Something will happen that'll destroy or recreate the world of Elyria in a Final Fantasy Realm Reborn kind of fashion. And while we are still shy on information, when it comes to the 10-year story, it's believed that even our souls will be destroyed. Why I bring this up is because even though 10 years is a very long time when it comes to MMORPGs, the things that happen between that ultimately will shape how we play the game. Now there's a lot of parts that play in this dynamic world, and a fair place to start is something that players themselves won't be able to control: nature. So while a night and day system is important for immersion, it doesn't necessarily change anything in the world. But like I talked about before, CoE will also feature seasons, and since your character ages faster in the game than real life, odds are we would see different seasons not every few months, but as short as a few weeks. While different seasons may get a bit old if we were to play the game for 10 years, it doesn't neglect the fact that because this is ultimately a survival game, the changing of the seasons would change how we play the game. In winter, you would want your Great Knight to be all bundled up helping the local farmer preserve his crops. In the summer, the worry might be water for everyone. But it doesn't stop there, because I did say stuff would happen that players can't control. And natural disasters is something you're going to have to live with. Your village will not only be fighting other villages around you to survive, but also any tornadoes, meteorites, earthquakes, or dragons that burn your village and everyone in it. Keep in mind that depending on the actions of other players, certain things could happen, meaning if there's an adventurer that happens to awaken a dragon, you might have to thank that brave hero for why your house is in ashes. And that is our next point. How players play the game changes the world around them. When I was talking about the 10-year story, I said that depending on how players play the game determines what direction the 10-year story will go. In Chronicles of Elyria, there's always stuff to discover from a crafting point of view. Discovering something like the compass or new technology. This is a system put in place to evolve the world, and depending on what players start discovering impacts how that world will evolve. If players are trying to unlock Steam as a resource, we may see the world evolve into a steampunk-like game. If players or schools in CoE are trying to unlock the rareness of magic, we might see more of a fantasy type route. It sounds far-fetched that the actual game can almost change its genre because of the players playing it, but it's what makes CoE unique and dynamic. But so far we talked about how every day there's something new in Chronicles of Elyria, things that happen that change the world. But what about things that happen directly to you, the player? Stuff that necessarily doesn't change the entire world, but the world around you. Now I could easily start with the player-created content, because this is a sandbox game after all. How you interact with other players can determine wars, alliances, and friendships. But in this video's fashion, I want to talk about the system the game itself puts in place directly to change the world around you. And one of those systems is your character's destiny. Now you may be asking, isn't this a sandbox game? Shouldn't I be able to do what I want? And it's true, you most certainly can do whatever you want. What I mean by character destiny is actually quite complicated, but it's also really cool. CoE is being created on the Unreal Engine. However, it's the Proteus or Soulbound engine that ultimately runs the game. As you play the game, the Proteus engine takes into account how you play or what you're trying to accomplish and gives you chances to either accomplish these things or not. The best way to describe this would be in an example. Say you're a merchant. When you created this character though, the Proteus engine decided your player's destiny was to be a warrior. You found that when your character held a sword, not only did it indicate your player was good with a sword, you also earned talents towards fighting extremely fast. But you didn't pay it any mind and you stayed a merchant. This is where the Proteus engine may make a decision to push you to become a warrior or not. You're traveling on a road that you've traveled hundreds of times, and you know because of the kingdom you're traveling to, it's completely safe. However, the Proteus engine decides to stage an ambush of bandits. Because your character's natural ability, you're able to not only fend the bandits off yourself, but also notice one of the bandits dropped a map, and notes about a great hidden weapon. Would you not be interested and drop your thoughts of being a merchant? This is really cool, and it can happen thanks to the addition of the Proteus engine. And there's just so much more between the soulmate system, additions to the player event system, and world bosses. There's just so much to talk about. But I hope this video gave you some insight on just how awesome the world of Chronicles of Elyria can be. And if you wanted more information, I urge you to check out DM21's video where he talks more on the story aspect of things. Thank you for watching the video. Tell me what you think of the world in the comments below. I've been Meridius, and I'll catch you next time.